Throughout history, artists and writers were drawn to the northern Italian hill town of Asolo. Some say it's because it's the city of 100 horizons. I think it's because it's the home of Asolo Prosecco. I'm Susan Schwartz, your drinking companion, and this is Lush Life Podcast. Every week we are inspired to live life one cocktail at a time. At one time, you might have caught a glimpse of poet Robert Browning, actress Eleanora Duse, or writer Freya Stark sitting enjoying a glass of bubbly at one of the many cafes in this pearl of the Veneto. I can almost guarantee the liquid in their glass was Asolo Prosecco. In this episode, I'll be taking you with me to meet a few people who are making Asolo Prosecco what it is. We'll begin with a masterclass led by wine educator and journalist Gianpaolo Giacobbo, who will explain what Asolo Prosecco DOCG is exactly. Then Ugo Zamperoni is next. He's the president of the Conzorio of Asolo Prosecco, which is the association of producers and grape growers. Then we are off to meet a few producers of Asolo Prosecco. Dennis Borden from the Tenuta d'Asolo Progress Country and Wine House, Ermenegildo Giusti of Giusti Wine, and then we finish off with Tenuto Baron's Andrea Spriza. I interviewed them all in Asolo, so alas, there's no video podcast this week. But you can find a video guide to the town of Asolo and a selection of the vineyards and historical sites I visited, so that you can visit them too when you're next in town. You can find it on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/LushLifeManual. And of course, you can find the link in the show notes. Now let's begin with Gianpaolo, who defines exactly what is Asolo Prosecco.
My name is Gianpaolo Giacobbo. I'm in the world of wine since 1995, so many years ago. When in Italy, wine it was not so trendy, but I was really, really interested in it. And so for many years, I've met many producers, small producers in Italy, only in Italy at the moment. And I've collaborated with the most important magazine here in Italy. And what about Prosecco? Prosecco is an area that is really close to my house, my home. And so it's my garden, because when I'm free, I'm always go in that place in Asolo Prosecco and Valdobbiadene and Conegliano. And in these 30 years, I've met many people, met producers. I'm in the family, so I know not only what all the people can see about Prosecco, can know about Prosecco, but also the tradition, something that is maybe hidden for the people, because it's a part of something that is inside of this farmer or this producer. And it's very nice for me that I'm inside of this world, but at the same time outside. And so I can observe all the things, what's happened, how is growing the culture of wine, how it's changing, even the climate, for instance. That in these days is really hard. So the Prosecco is one of the, I think, most, not important, but well-known name in the world of the sparkling wine. Because if you ask to many people around the world what is Prosecco, maybe they know. Or they think to know what it is, because often it happens that all the sparkling wine are Prosecco. But it's not so. So there is a lot of confusion about that. So we try to clear this sort of concept that is very, very important. Prosecco is a sparkling wine that is produced in the northeast of Italy, so in the region of Veneto region, where is Venice, and part of Friuli, Venezia Giulia region. When we talk about Prosecco DOCG, Prosecco Valdobbiadene Conegliano DOCG, and Asolo DOCG, there's no one that is best and the other is worst or something like that, but there are different stories. So sometimes it happens that you prefer to drink Valdobbiadene or Conegliano, or Asolo or DOCG, that is in the flatland. But there is not only one Prosecco, but more Prosecco. So it's the same origin that is broken in the middle by the river Piave.
Okay.
This is very interesting to do with Google Earth because you look, it's like an alligator that is broken in the middle. Why? On the left, you found Asolo. On the right, you found Valdobbiadene. But the origin is the same. That's why you find the same soil, calcareous soil and sedimentary soil, very, very rich in mineral. The differences between one and the other is that in some part in Asolo, soil is more rich in mineral than in the other part in Valdobbiadene Conegliano.
Oh, okay.
So you find a big structure of the wine in Asolo, a thin structure in Valdobbiadene, and totally another sort of structure in Conegliano. This is nice to taste the wine when it's still in the tank before the re-fermentation. It's very nice to taste the wine and find all different tastes if you compare the different soil in different places. So the big difference is between Asolo, Conegliano, and Valdobbiadene, but inside of each you found different tastes. That means different Prosecco. That's why, there is not only one. For instance, in Asolo, you have many saltiness in the mouth. There are a lot of producers that produce brut or extra brut Prosecco because you don't need anything. You don't need sugar or something like that to give more expression to the wine because it's enough what you have, with this sort of wine. Yesterday I was there and I've tasted this sort of new wine that just to understand what has happened. Uh-huh. And I found, especially in this vintage 2022, is very rich in structure and taste. It's a very interesting wine, this wine. And in terms of aromatic part, you find this hint of lemongrass, very, very fresh in the nose, and the drinkability that is very important. Drinkability is the fil rouge of all the Prosecco. Even in Prosecco DOCG, Valdobbiadene, Conegliano, and Asolo. Because it is a wine to drink and drink and drink. It's nothing to think. It's not so complex as wine. And the characteristic is the simplicity. Because sometimes I heard some people that says, okay, I prefer champagne. I prefer the other. I prefer champagne as well. But there is a moment to drink champagne, and it's a beautiful moment. And sometimes that is the moment to drink Prosecco. And is a beautiful moment as well. Because
my father always said comparisons are odious. So you can like champagne that has nothing to do with Prosecco. It's completely different.
It's a completely different story,
Right.
If you arrive at the end of the day, you arrive after your job, you are tired. And you want something to drink. You get a glass of Prosecco, another glass of champagne. After that, then maybe you can drink champagne and it should be beautiful, beautiful moment. But there's a moment only for a Prosecco. And then when you can get in love with this sort of Prosecco, you can decide to drink Asolo, what you want. Asolo, there is another very important thing to observe, and maybe you have seen. This is really very rich in biodiversity as area because there is not only plants of vineyard but you find even trees, apple trees, chestnut trees, cereal and herbs. So it's very, very different. If you have walking around the hills of Asolo Prosecco, you find, you find vineyard, of course, but in the same time, you find many different type of plant or cultivation that give a nice biodiversity. And I want to think that's the Conzorio who can decide, can preserve this sort of heritage that is very, very important. Because the story of Prosecco is recently, because at the beginning of the DOCG was 2009. The history, of course, it was older, but it was totally different because many people, they move from the hills to the industry, to work in the industry. The young people, in the last 20 years, they prefer to go to work in a business, in the bank, something that was more cool than to be a farmer. Now it's cool to be a farmer.
It is. People are coming back.
Yeah, they're coming back. Yeah. And they are very proud to be a farmer from Asolo in this case. It is an historical moment for that, because I've seen many guys that they work in the bank, in insurance, I don't know where, or in the industry, and then they discover the farming inside of themselves, or they have maybe some fields to cultivate, and so it's an interesting moment for this, and they are producing really interesting wine. Is a big path, is a long path to do, but is a nice moment for the wine, for Italian wine in general, not only for Prosecco, of course.
Now, absolutely. Now, just for specifics for people who might not know, is it just the Glera grapes that are grown in Asolo? Or is it mixed with anything else, the Prosecco?
Well, it's not only Glera. Glera is the most important, of course, but they use ancient old variety as Bianchetta or Pereira and Verdiso. There are old variety. And they are very interesting because they give the part of the aromatic or structure. I like a lot this sort of grape in the cuvée of Prosecco. When you find Bianchetta in the mouth, you find something totally different, a nice structure and a nice acidity, natural acidity that is very nice. And maybe you don't know that in this area is produced also red wines as a recantina. No, maybe you taste, yes, when you were here, no?
Yes, I did. We did. And they told us a little bit of the story. I know it's not about Asolo Prosecco, but do tell the story because it's wonderful.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Yes. It's Recantina that is in the area of Monfumo. Monfumo, in my opinion, is the Grand Cru of Asolo. And then in Montello, there is another hill close to Asolo, where it's produced, on the top is produced Prosecco, and on the bottom of the hill, the red wine, very, very interesting red wine, Bordeaux style, so Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Malbec, and a little bit of Recantina as well in this part of Montello. Because Montello and the Asolo hills are really close one to each other, but different climate, different taste. The climate is very important because the element are the soil, of course, the grape we are talking about, and the climate, because Asolo is in the middle between Venice and the Dolomite. So It has all the part of warm air coming from south, the blowing from south, and the fresh current blowing from north, where are the Dolomites. So 30,000 meters of altitude, 40,000 meters in altitude. That means fresh air that coming down from north, and Asolo is in the middle. So is a mix between the warm from the flat land and the fresh from the mountain. Freshness, fresh air and the hills give a technical change. And that means acidity, freshness in the wine. That is very, very important for a sparkling wine to have acidity.
Right.
Of not only structure, but it's important acidity just for drinkability, all that.
Yes, it's incredible that when you look on the map, these places, Asolo, Colignano, and Valdobbiadene, are not so far apart, yet they have such different climates and such different tastes. The next time, I'd like to try one glass next to each other of each different one and to see the differences in salinity and acidity and flavor.
Yeah, it is. If you compare 3, 4, 5, 6 Prosecco from that area, you find all the different tastes.
Right.
For instance, in Asolo are really close one to each other. Maybe 15 kilometers and not more. But in the middle, there is the River Piave, and the River Piave give a different climate on the right, a different climate on the left. And it's very nice. And if you have a drink, for instance, it's just an example. If you have a glass of Prosecco in Colbertaldo that is close to Valdobbiadene, you find something really flowery with this salinity, is very thin, very delicate, is very creamy, is very, very nice wine. If you taste the wine of Asolo, 15 kilometers from here, you find something that is in agreement with extractor, with a big, powerful in the mouth, different characteristic in terms of tasting. So different energy in the mouth. Is not one better than the other. Only different. And you can use with a pairing, different pairing with the food, for instance. I like, in Valdobbiadene, there's several producers that used to do extra dry wine. Sparkling wine. Extra dry is with 15, 18 grams per liter of residual sugar. But is imbalanced. Is totally imbalanced. When you taste the wine, you don't feel sweet. Because you have the acidity that works and clean your mouth with acidity and saltiness. And so you can pair this, for instance, with fried sardinia, should be, with, and the onions. There is a particular dish here, a traditional dish is called sardina in saor. It's a traditional.
Very Venetian.
Very Venetian. Or with moeke. There is
the little shrimp. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is funny in the world of wine, to find something that is funny, something that you can use where you want, just to enjoy yourself.
Of course. Of course.
Is our goal.
Yes, and it's a great Prosecco is always a great aperitivo drink in my mind. I love it. Also, even with some desserts, it's good with everything. Is there anything else that you think that we should know? Any funny stories or anything else about Prosecco that we can leave people with?
First of all, but there are more Prosecco, but you should say that the Prosecco is a nice with aperitivo. It is. But it's very nice to find to try Prosecco in the same time with different courses, even with the meat. It is very interesting that you can understand that it works very well. In this area, I tell you as a story, is a traditional to produce Prosecco with the second fermentation in the bottle without the gorge. Is a Prosecco col fondo. That is as it was in the past, Prosecco, when there was no technical process as autoclaves or that stuff. That natural fermentation arrived in the bottle, and now there are young guys that are producing this way, and is totally sugar free with low sulfites. Is a cloudy wine, of course, because the yeast are inside of the bottle, so it's a cloudy wine. Is not so nice to see, but doesn't matter. And this is beautiful to use from the aperitivo to the dessert. I don't like the dessert, but never mind. With the fish, meat, cheese, vegetables, with the Japanese cuisine. It's beautiful with the Japanese cuisine. And so if you Google Prosecco col fondo, you find many stories about that. It's very, very interesting wine. And it's typical in Valdobbiadene, Conegliano, and in Asolo. In the hills, you can do that only in the hills because it needs acidity and a real balance in the wine because it's totally sugar-free without sugar. And so it should be, it needs a big soil to do that.
Well, fabulous. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's great to learn a little bit more about Prosecco, and we appreciate your time, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Susan. Hope to see you as soon as possible.
Oh, me too. Me too. Now that we know all about Asolo Prosecco, Ugo Zamperoni, the president of the Conzorio of Asolo Prosecco, is here to explain the history of Asolo Prosecco DOCG and what the Conzorio actually does.
Hello, I am Ugo Zamperoni, president of Conzorio Asolo Prosecco.
Thank you so much for being here. Why don't you tell me a little bit about why the Conzorio started in the first place and a little history of what it does?
Consorzio born in 1985. There is a consorzio in every appellations because a consorzio manage the appellation and help producers on certificate the wine, because our wine in appellation is certificate to grapes to the bottle for the customer.
So how many producers are part of the consortio?
There are more than 400 partners, counting also the farmers, but wineries are something like 64.
And about how many bottles do you produce every year?
Last year we produced 24 million bottles, and we are the fourth Italian sparkling wine, and we are not so small.
Not at all. Now, tell me a little bit about the beginning of when it started.
We started in the 85, a really small area, with also a Prosecco. The Prosecco was called in a different way, like Prosecco dei Colli Asolani, del Montello e dei Colli Asolani. And in 2009 there was a big revolution in the Prosecco world, where we reached the DOCG. Probably is the great revolution that the world to know our Prosecco world.
So when you say it became a DOC, what does that mean exactly for the Prosecco growers?
We were really small, with less than 1 million bottles. So nobody could imagine what would have happened a few years later. It was a revolution because the production increased year after year. So it was a great opportunity for our region. In 2009 was less than 1 million, and today in 2022 we are at 24 million. So it was incredible. Year after year, 2-3 million bottles more than last year. More than 10 years.
It is incredible. And what do you see for the future of the consortio? How do you see it going?
I think we are reaching our target. Our target could be 30 million bottles, because of the hectare can produce 30 million bottles. And we think when we reach the target, we can work better for the value of our wine. So we don't want to produce more, but we want to upgrade our value.
What do you mean when you say upgrading your value? What kind of things will change?
I think we have to work for quality as a first thing, and if there is quality, I think we can sell better our product, and to make the difference with the other Prosecco very clean. So this is, I think, the best target we can reach.
Well, that sounds fabulous. Well, thank you so much. Now, off we go to Oslo to meet the first of our 3 producers of Asolo Prosecco, Dennis Borden, the founder of Tenuta d'Asolo Progress Country and Wine House, right outside the city itself.
Hello, well, my name is Dennis Borden. I am the owner and entrepreneur of the farm, or Tenuta Progress Country and Wine House. We started our history around 10 years ago, and we are located in the commune of Asolo. Asolo is one of the most historical old towns of Italy. It's called one of the 100 most beautiful villages of Italy. And we are proud to have our farm, or tenuta, as we say in Italian, that is located in Asolo. When it comes to our farm, our tenuta, we have different services and manufacturing processes that we do. The services is based on the Progress Country, that is like a luxury hotel. That's where we host the people that come from any part of the world. And that's where we do the bed and breakfast. And then, of course, all the wine tasting and all the tours in our vineyards. Our vineyards we're proud of the fact that they are only in Asolo. And that's where we make Asolo Prosecco DOCG plus Recantina, I'll tell you about it, and about olive oil. That is the three main products we do. Asolo Prosecco DOCG is a vast area. It's like the area of Champagne or Franciacorta or Trento DOCG. And it starts from San Zenone degli Ezzelini and it goes until Nerviso della Battaglia. It's more or less 50 to 60 kilometers long and about 20, 30 kilometers wide. Okay. And in here, that's where they make the Asolo Prosecco DOCG. But we are proudly in Asolo. That is a very particular reason why we consider our product one of, not only for the quality, but also for the location as a unique product, because most of the manufacturers around Asolo Prosecco DOCG are not located in Asolo. So what do? We do three types. We have three brands plus oil. So the one is called Col d'Acelo or Col d'Acello. That means mountain of Asolo. It's a Roman way of saying Asolo, Acello. And that's glera, pure glera, 100% glera. And we make it in three versions of sugar. So extra dry, extra brut, and extra dry. It does the classic method of a champenoise, that is 40 days in the pressure tank. And it's a very fresh taste to it. It has, let's say, very strong influence of apple and very fresh fruits, typical of a Glera Prosecco or Prosecco Asolo Prosecco. And it's one of our, let's say, first range of products that we can call them more fresh. It's a fresh product because it stays short period in the pressure tank. On the other side, we have the most complex and more different type of Asolo Prosecco DOCG. That is one of my dream or one of my, say, missions, is to make something more close to the classic method, Champagne or Franciacorta or Trento DOCG or Oltrepò Pavese or Cava or whatever you want to mention, the classic method. What we do is 6 months in the pressure tank. So gets more structured. It's more, the fruit and the yeast and everything is more complex and more structured in terms of taste. And we can also put inside until 15% Pinot Noir. So this makes it a complete different product. It's like we want to keep the tradition of Glera Prosecco with Col d'Acelo, but we want to make also a complex and unique product that doesn't exist in the market. And it's around 5 to 6 months in the pressure tank. Also, in this range of products, we do extra brut and extra dry. So on both, let's say, range of products, we have 4 to 5 grams per liter of extra brut, 9 to 10 grams per liter for brut of sugar, and 14 to 15 grams of sugar per liter for the extra dry. And this is to satisfy most possible all the different needs, taste, more sugar, more dry, the mix depends. And of course, you can combine them with any type of food. From some people eat also pizza. We usually do it with starters or appetizers, and then you go with the extra dry for full dinner or full lunch, and then you can finish with the extra dry if you have some cookies, something sweet. So it's a perfect combination, sugar with sugar. Inside the tenuta, we have the full process of winemaking. So we have 4 people in the vineyards that every day work on the vineyards, cut, treat, to do everything. We are proud to be completely organic, certified organic. And we have won in the past or been awarded in the past by many famous, let's say, certification or awards like Decanton, Falstaff, Concours de Bruxelles, and American awards as well. So more, let's say, year after year, the products are appreciated a lot as much as possible in the world. And being, let's say, a young company, the will to make something unique at the highest quality possible is our mission. So we're combining let's say, the farm and tenuta with the wine, the tasting, and the hospitality, together with the most, say, unique products we can make for the world.
Absolutely. Now, one thing you didn't reveal is how it got started and how old it is. What was the brain behind it and the name, it being an English name as opposed to an Italian name?
First of all, it's a passion that I always had in terms of drinking, not a lot, but drinking well. So passion started more or less, I would say, 15 years ago. And then after slowly, I also studied to become sommelier and notes and more to become more my knowledge, to increase my knowledge in the winery business. And I'm an industrial entrepreneur as the basic. That's what I've been doing in the past 30 years. In time, I always was interested in understanding how wine was made and how it is. We are full of vineyards around this area. So more or less around 2013, I started to discover where we can make a wine and start planting the vineyards. And that's in 2015 born Progress Country and Wine House. So Progress Country Wine House, why? Because progress is a name and part of me. It's an international word, it's not mine, but progress, of course, is my mentality to always be in progress, always innovating, always doing something in progress. And that's something that belongs to me as my mentality. All the companies I have are progress something, progress profiles, progress index, progress holdings, progress country. And that's to identify me as my mentality and the way I do the business. Then the passion came later with making the country, that came as let's say a luxury hotel, like I told you, but it's more like a farm luxury hotel because it's in the vineyards, very unique. And that's where I wanted to create something important for the territory. Like I told you before, Asolo is historical, very important, but I wanted to make something special and unique in this major commune, in this commune that has 5,000 people live in it. And so that was for the hospitality. And slowly from 2015, 16, 17 and on, we bought vineyards where we planted different types of grapes. And that's where everything started. Let's say that year after year, we increased the capacity, where we have the capacity of more or less 100,000 bottles. That in the world is nothing because there's sold 13 billion bottles in the world. So we are 0.00 something. But we want to make something very unique. We means me, my wife Beatrice, and my brother-in-law Fagno Pontin, that we are the investors and the ones that wanted to make all this happen. And plus we have another 6-7 people that work constantly every day, or in the farm in Tenuta, in the country house, or in the vineyards to take care of the vineyards every day. So this is how everything started, and proud to say more and more year after year, because investments in this field are very high in general, but then in time, we are, let's say, 50% depending on the tourism, on the other 50% on the nature, because we can't control the nature. So some years you're very satisfied. And what we are doing, of course, is to let us know the Progress Country Wine House more possible in all our brands around the world. But most of all, we want to satisfy the quality and the requests of the markets that are appreciating, say, year after year, all our effort that we put in what we
Yes, it's progress, right?
continues.
Continuously. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for taking the time. It was great to hear about it and everything you do. I was lucky enough to not only stay there, but to try a lot of all of your products. And they're all fantastic. So thank you again. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Susan, for the interest, and all the best. Thanks.
Our next guest, Ermenegildo Giusti of Giusti Wines, left Italy for the U.S. and found himself in Canada. Now, after finding success there, he's returned home to create the best wine he can.
As a youngster, I moved to Canada, and I spent my lifetime promoting the excellence in construction and the ceramic tile business and so on. Today, we are one of the largest construction companies on the West Coast. We started investing back in Italy in 1998. As I grew up in the vineyard, in the farm, my attachment to the land was what brought me back here. After all those years in Canada, I slowly rediscovered my own country, especially in summertime, the beautiful days, the sunny day, the fruit, the vegetable, and the art, which I really miss, and the culture. So, because I was very blessed in Canada and we done very well, I want to do something back to the people that, all the nationalities that supported me, the Chinese, the German, people from around the world that give me job and work and love me doing my life in Canada. I want to give them back the best glass of wine as possible from my territory. The wine that I remember my dad used to sell to the doctor, to the lawyer in the city, because at home we used to drink the not very good wine. The good wine was given to other people. But though I still remember in my mind how good the wine there was, which I didn't see him in Canada liquor store or somewhere in the United States. I never tasted wine like that again. So that's what pushed me to come back and to invest here, especially now that I'm in my 70s, to spend the last 10, 15 years of my life, if I'm lucky, to do what I want, to promote my territory, to promote the made in Italy, without pesticides, without chemicals, to farm like we did in the old days. My dad, my mom, my grandfather. I want to be remembered for the person that changed the way farming is done. I've been very successful in my construction business. This is my last chapter of my life. I want to change this industry. If I could eliminate completely pesticides and produce only quality, to produce high quantity of grapes, to produce less, but better. That would be my goal, and to do it in harmony with nature.
Now, when you returned from Canada, was there a specific wine that you wanted to make, or was it Prosecco? Was it a red wine? What did you have? What was your vision for it?
No, we started out with red. It was more on the red, but we bought the property and we planted white because that's what was going. Pinot Grigio, Chardonnay, which my family never had that. My family had Prosecco, Glera grape. Then, when we purchased the property here at the Abbey, where the plants are 50 years old, this is the best place to produce a top Bordeaux. It was important for me to start with what I could with the white and then go into the red, which is my passion.
And tell me about building your site, which is so beautiful. Was this something that you always dreamed of having that kind of facility, or?
No, it's so all the things, one thing about me, I don't like to copy other people. I just want to do something which was the building, which was in harmony with nature, in harmony with the hills. So it was very simple to design the two-way, the up and down of the hill, which also represent the up and down of life. because in life you do up, down time too, not only up. What was important to me to produce something that it has very little impact in the surrounding, and to be tourist friendly, so that people can see and everything that you do inside. I want my winery to be an open book, very transparent with everything that we do, because I grew up playing with open card in the table. You deal with what you got. So, but all my buildings that I own, different sides, they're all one better than the other one. So I'm not surprised that this is as nice as it is, because for me, it's only excellence, and that's it.
Do you see, because of how you farm and not using any pesticides and, as you said, doing less, which is doing more for the environment, do you see things changing in this area to be more like what you're doing?
Yes. Because, for example, until I came back here, there was no tourist here. My place is always full every day. Through marketing, through promotion, and through the beauty, what they see when they come down. Then is one friend tell another, and so on.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about what someone who's visiting can do when they come?
Okay, most people come and they land in Venice or Treviso. They arrive in the afternoon, so they come in, they have a late lunch here. A lot of them like to relax for a couple hours, or they go for a walk up the Abbey. And if they're too tired, they will not do the wine tasting until tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they will do a late wine tasting. And usually the first night I will meet them also. Uh-huh. All the tourists from Canada, United States, I would say all the English-speaking tourists, I spend time. So the second day, if they already done the tour of the cantina and the wine tasting, the second day, what we do, we visit all the estates. I got 10 different estates, so they can physically see all the property, where the wine come from. When I see, I drink your Rosalia, where does it come from? You can take them down to the property, walk the property, say, okay, here is your Rosalia. Rolando is across the street. Casabianca is where I live. Maria Vittoria is where the villa is, the white villa, my youngest son. So, and it takes, the second day, it takes you to see all the property. Third day, if there are tourists from overseas, Venice. We go do the tour of Venice, which is I think, the most beautiful city in the world.
I agree.
Yeah, and we get an opportunity to visit Venice with somebody that lives here.
Okay.
Right? I know the building, the art, the food, the cheese, the area, and I speak dialect. I speak Veneto. And the fourth day, if they stay 4 days, we do Bassano, Asolo. They go visit Asolo on their own, because straight down the road. Then the following day they leave.
Well, count the time. I don't see why anyone would want to be here.
Yeah.
All the time.
4 days. That's 3 days. They have a good tour.
And if there was one thing that you wanted everyone to know about Giusti, what would it be?
The passion that we have to produce the top wine. The love for the land, tremendous passion, tremendous love for everything that I do. I work very hard my whole life. I still get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I try to entertain and see everybody I can. The only way I knew how to do it is by working hard.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the visit.
Yeah. You too.
Good.
Our last guest today is Andrea Sbrisa from Tenuta Baron, whose restaurant is as wonderful as his Prosecco.
Hi, I'm Andrea Sbrisa of Tenuta Baron in Asolo. We are a wine producer, viticulture company, a sustainable viticulture company. We run, me and Giacobbo Baron, this company. We started together in 2012 when we was at the university, Milan. Okay, we started together the idea because we get it on both vineyards and the cellar. and put together our things and make the brand Tenuta Baron alive. Okay.
Were you always a wine drinker? Was this something that you
We are-
loved or your family had?
Yeah, my family have this vineyard. My grandfather planted in 1971 a vineyard of Prosecco and Merlot. And Giacomo, the father of Giacomo, bought the estate where we are right now, the Tenuta Baron estate, in 1979, where we have Asolo DOCG grape Prosecco and also Verduzzo Trevigiano, typical grape of the area, and Cabernet Sauvignon, and Shiraz. Okay, another thing. But it's properly where we are right now with the company. It's called Villa Persicini. Okay, it's a villa about 400 years old. Was built by a Venetian family, this Persicini family. Right now is our headquarter, where we have the cellar, where we do the vinification, and we are warehouse and also our tasting room, because we're working a lot with the tourism and this kind of stuff. We have visit events in the winery.
Was your grandfather just making wine for your family,
Yeah.
friends? Was he selling it? What
Yeah.
were you doing with the wine?
My grandfather make wine for the family, and also they selling like to friends and stuff, bulk wine, Damigiana, the
No, what is
50
that?
liters bottle, the big bottle we used to have in Italy. The Baron family, the Giacomo family used to sell grapes to other wineries and make like also 1,000 bottles of Prosecco, some Verduzzo bottles, some Cabernet Sauvignon. Cabernet Sauvignon is one of the oldest wine in Tenuta Baron. Nothing. After my grandfather is becoming my uncle, doing the same thing, producing the grapes, make the wine, drinking at home, because my family, my mother family, we was like a 60, 65 person, a big family.
Oh boy.
Yeah, big family, a lot of cousins, and my mama have seven brother and sister. We need a lot of wine. Yeah. They need, because I was a child. And 10 years ago, we decided with my mom to bring the vineyard and all this part of the land, and we purchased it, and I started to following the production of the grape, bringing the grape to the Tenuta Baron and make the wine together, put it together with the Giacomo.
What kind of wines did you start making first, or was you just continuing
When we arrive,
the exact same thing that
yeah.
your grandfather was making?
yeah, when we arrived, we continued to produce in Prosecco, because it was 2012, 2013. DOCG Asolo was born in 2009. And was starting to become something big, bigger and bigger and bigger. Also, we maintained the Cabernet Sauvignon, because it was an historical wine. We maintained Merlot, but we used to had with the Shiraz for make Con Amore, our top wine, red wine. Con Amore means with love. But we started bottling pure Shiraz with the name of the company I own for this vineyard. Casa Rosa is the name of the company. It's like Pink House. From 2018 vintage. Okay, we made a new wine, this Merlot. The white wines we made becoming after, like Manzoni Bianco and Chardonnay becoming after in the years, because we want to improve our production. We love to do experiments and things. And also the rosé was just the first ideas we had, the rosé. We're starting in the first years properly.
I mean, the rosé sparkling wine.
Rosé
that we
sparkling
had.
wine.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that.
But rosé was born with a blend of Prosecco and Cabernet Sauvignon. A mess. Nothing good. After year by year, we understand how to make. Experiments go forward, and you understand. Also, you understand your taste, understand the taste of the clients. We arrived to make this blend about Raboso del Piave, which is an old variety. It's probably one of the oldest variety in Veneto. It was the wine of Venetian people. A red grape, very acid, very powerful. It's a blend between Raboso, Verduzzo Trevigiano, white old variety too, typically, and Merlot. Okay, we used to make a brut, very low sugar. It's become one of our most famous wine for our little brand. Okay,
And we're here to talk about Asolo Prosecco, really. Can you
Okay.
describe what makes your Prosecco different?
okay. We used to pick it up 15 different plots, okay, of Asolo Prosecco. We divided by vintage, age of plantation, age of planted, okay, the age of vineyards, exposition, town, because we have it in different towns. And we pick it up separately, vinify separately, maintain these base wines separately in the tanks in the cellar. After that, when it's October, November, when the wine is ready, finish the first fermentation and do a couple of changing of tanks for cleaning. We do a tasting table and start blending. Okay. In this way, we're looking for have 3 different blends. Extra dry Asolo Prosecco, brut Asolo Prosecco, and apart we're selling like a bulk wine. Normally a bulk wine is the wines we don't like it. Okay, we're selling bulk. And the other 2 wines we're looking for have different like tastings and smells for make. For example, our extra dry is more mature fruit because when you're thinking about sugar wine, you look for more mature fruit. Okay. And the brut is more about minerality, freshness, a little bit of salty. So in English it's weird to say salty, but in Italian we say salinity. Yeah, salinity. Okay.
That makes it sound better.
It makes it sound better. Yeah, salinity is okay. And year by year we understand in this way you understand every plot. So when it's better to pick it up, and you have an historical about this, it makes the wine I saw year by year growing and growing in the quality. Okay.
Fabulous. And then what do you have going forward?
Well, what we want to make new? This is a good question. But it's brand new, our tasting room where we do events and things we built in 2020. We are improving this thing because we just built finishing in March another building for make private events, private tastings. So this things is in the top of the hills of the estate. You see old area. Okay, it's our little house made by wood and glass. Okay, with the view. We're looking for improve our quality, improve our clients, improve our brands because our focus started more than 10 years ago to make a brand, and we want to arrive to where we become a famous brand. Okay, Tenuta Baron become a famous brand.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and good luck.
I'm happy. You say that, I thank you too, and I enjoy to speak about it.
I have to give a huge thank you to everyone who participated in today's episode and everyone at Studio Crew who invited me to meet them. Although a glass of Asolo Prosecco is fabulous on its own, of course there are plenty of cocktails that you can also make with it. Would I leave you without a cocktail of the week? Our cocktail of the week comes straight from master mixologist Samuele Ambrosi, the owner of Cloakroom Cocktail Lab and Knowledge Hub in Treviso. We met at Venice Cocktail Week last year, and I am thrilled to be including one of his cocktail creations. It's called the Made in Italy, and is a little different from what you might think of as a Prosecco cocktail, because it's savory. So, in an electric blender, add about a pound or 500 grams of cherry tomatoes and 10 to 12 fresh basil leaves and blend everything for a few minutes. Leave the liquid all together for about 10 to 15 minutes in the fridge. Then strain it all and mix in about 1 teaspoon of white sugar. There you have your cordial, which you can keep in the fridge and it's good for about 2 weeks. Now, for our Made in Italy cocktail, take 50 mils or 1.5 ounces of that gorgeous cordial you just made and 150 mils or 5 ounces of Asolo Prosecco DOCG Extra Brut and add that to a mixing glass. Add ice and then stir, stir, stir. Then strain it into a champagne glass and garnish it with a tomato basil cracker. Salute! You can find this recipe, more Prosecco cocktail recipes, and all the cocktails of the week at alushlifemanual.com, where you'll find some of the ingredients in our shop. Hey y'all, when you hear this, I'm on my way to Seoul and Tokyo. Check out my Instagram to see what I'm up to and where I'm drinking. So if you live for Lush Life, make sure you head out to the bars and restaurants you love and tell them how much you love them. Theme music for Lush Life is by Steven Shapiro and used with permission. And Lush Life is always and will be forever produced by Evo Terra and Simpler Media Productions. Which leaves me to say the wise words of Oscar Wilde, all things in moderation, including moderation, and always drink responsibly. Next up, we're meeting the king of cocktails, Mr. Lyon, who has a new book out. Can't wait, as it's the first time he's been on the program. Until that time, bottoms up.